The Charlotte Regional Championships have just wrapped up, and the man that won the previous biggest tournament of all time, or biggest regional tournament of all time, I should say, sorry, Wolf Glick has just gone and he's broken his own record. You know, this Charlotte regional is the biggest regional we've ever had, and Wolf Glick has come out once again and won it. Everyone knows who Wolfy is at this point. I'm sure if you watch VGC on YouTube, I'm sure you know who Wolf Glick is. This is the former world champion, and he's come in with some spice here. Now, as you guys can see here, this is the top 8 teams. Now, look. I'm not gonna lie, I did not get to study this event as much as I wanted to. Your boy spent basically most of the whole weekend watching, playing Pal World. But I did get to watch, basically all of the games today, or at least, most of the back end important games, the top 8 and whatnot. And I got to see quite a bit of Wolf Glick's team here. Now, as you can see here, we'll pull up Wolfy's team. This is it's a pretty interesting team, right? Because obviously, you've got this Firewater Grass core, right? You've got the Insin, right? You've got the Urshi Rapid, and you've got the Rillaboom. This was kind of the core, I think, coming into this format. Everyone looked at and was like, this is going to be very, very good, right? Obviously, you've got the Skarsh Urshi Rapid here, which obviously just great speed control. You've got the Terra Ghost Insin, which is very, very interesting. But I do love this adaptation simply because, Insin's biggest issue recently, it seems, has been these Urshifu's, right? These guys just click close combat into it, not really caring. If it goes grass, it goes water, doesn't care about CCs. And if it goes something like Terra Fairy, it just has no matchup into Urshifu Rapid Strike. So at least if it does, have a matchup like this, obviously, you've got switch-ins with things like the Rillaboom, right? Your own Urshifu as well, which you obviously can bring into, opposing Urshifu Rapids. But also, if they are, looking at clicking the close combat, obviously, it's a bit hard, obviously, with the Insin having the Terra Ghost. Very, very standard set on those two mons here. We do actually see a very interesting Fluttermane as well. Classic Wolf here just being a bit unique. We have the booster energy with the Calm Mind, Shadow Ball, and, Moonblast here. Obviously, two fantastic stabs. Having Calm Mind, obviously, helps out a lot. And Terra Grass. Now, I don't remember off the top of my head. I really should have checked this probably before I click record. I do believe Wolfy was running a bit bulkier on his Fluttermane, so I would not be surprised if this was bulky with, very minimal special attack, but then obviously using the Calm Mind to increase on it. But hopefully, anyway, in the coming days, Wolf will obviously, share out his team or at least, some ideas on it. I do believe if you follow Wolf on Patreon, I think he does put his teams there, but don't quote me on that. I'm not too sure. But for a graph, this has been on one, obviously, that everyone has kind of really started picking up on. Essentially, if you have a look at the first regional of Regulation F, that being, the Portland Regional Championships, we had obviously priority just being super damn broken. We did have a lot of, draft in that tournament, but obviously none with, amazing results. But we do see Wolfy here with the Throat Spray, basically double stab, Trick Room, and Protect, Terra Fairy. This mon was just incredible, right? If you ever, were in a situation where, say, Wolf is going up against Tailwind teams or even, opposing balance teams, and it was just a situation where he's like, hey, the mons I got in the back are pretty slow. I can just get up a Trick Room and then draft just starts going crazy, right? You just start clicking Hyper Voices. I think I saw a +1 Psychic do I think it was 70% to a Gouging Fire from Wolf's draft, which was actually kind of crazy considering how bulky that mon is. But yeah, look, it's fantastic into stopping the priority, which is obviously fantastic. And I think just on a team like this, it's very, very good, right? You've got this balanced team where you kind of, you're playing bulky, right? You're using mons like Incineroar or the Rillaboom, to kind of pivot around. Even the Giraffe obviously is, decently bulky. And then you're kind of setting up things like your Urshi, your Fluttermane, and your Ogerpon Hearthflame, which we'll touch on in a second, to essentially win the game. Now, Ogerpon Hearthflame here, this was super, super interesting because if we have a look here at the top 2 teams, Nick was also running the Hearthflame, which was kind of wild because I do believe Water Ogerpon was the second most used mon in the entire event. I'm sure I'll, pull up the stats shortly, but I do believe it was number 2. So yeah, seeing 2 Hearthflames getting 1 and 2 is definitely crazy. And then we see here the SD plus Grassy Glide. Obviously Spiky Shield, Ivy Cudgel, you'd assume they're going to be there. But going the SD Grassy Glide, I do think is kind of wild. But I do think Rillaboom plus Ogerpon with double Grassy Glide is very good because this kind of just pins things like Fluttermane, right? A lot of Fluttermanes can't really deal with just double Grassy Glide unless they're going to click Protect. But in saying that, a lot of them are things like Terra Fairy with specs and whatnot, so obviously it does make things a bit tricky. But yeah, Ogerpon Hearthflame, definitely one of the calls of the meta. I think this mon's really, really good. And I do want to throw out there, we do see Wolf here playing with a double Fire. I think Fire is one of the best typings in the game right now. So having 2 of them obviously is fantastic. And then, of course, to round it out, Wolf here does have his Assault Vest Rillaboom, a very, very standard set. He's got the U-turn. Obviously, you have that paired up with Insin. Just great, pivoting potential, especially when you've got a Choice Scarf U-turner as well. So between those 3 mods, just a lot of pivoting, which is very, very good, especially too when it comes to, supporting things like the Fluttermane and the, Ogerpon Hearthflame. But of course, Wolf Glick, I mean, he's the world champion. I played a bit of Showdown today when I was at work, and all I saw was Wolf's team, and it was kind of annoying, I'm not gonna lie. But look, we'll try to speed up, a bit with these other teams here, because I don't want to spend too long on each of the teams. Niko Donald's team here, again, he's got that Ogerpon Hearthflame, so I don't want to touch too much on that. That was really good. Obviously, he has the Giraffe as well. Very, very good. Urshi Dark, another mon that's been picking up in usage. I'm sure if you've been around the channel, you know, the last week or two, you've heard me talking about this mon. I think it's insanely good right now. Obviously, Tornadus is still Tornadus, best Tailwind setter in the game. But the two really interesting ones here are obviously one, Iron Hands. You know, great to see Iron Hands actually still getting play. I do believe, I could be wrong, but I think we saw this Iron Hands live a Moonblast without Terror, which was kind of wild. But obviously, you know, he's got the Clear Amulet there, which helps out a lot for things like, you know, the Incineroar. I do believe Wolf said in his interview that this his Instant and this Iron Hands speed tied, which was crazy. And then, of course, you know, you got Fake Out, Wild Charge. Close Combat, I do think, is like a must-have on Iron Hands. Now, it is kind of, you know, changing the way the mon's been played, obviously, because this is a mon that would kind of, you know, like, sit there, eat 2 hits, Drain Punch, get it back, you know, and kind of just be annoying. But I do think this adaptation of Close Combat is massive, just because, again, like, when you've got a move that's 45 base power higher than something like Drain Punch, obviously that little bit of extra base power goes a long way. And all of a sudden, the instants you can't one-shot with, you know, things like Drain Punch, of course, and now getting one-shot by the Close Combat. But of course, the Blood Moon Ursaluna. Now, I did say this one was interesting. I'm sure if you've been, you know, following online tours or just like, you know, doing a lot of research like I have, this one's not a surprise to you. A lot of people are running the Blood Moon Ursaluna on teams like this. Essentially, you've got this, you know, this hybrid Trick Room Tailwind team, right? You got the Ogerborn, Herflame, the Urshi Rapid, and the Tornadus. Like, you got this really strong fast mode. And then you've got, you know, relatively fast Blood Moon Ursaluna and Iron Hands. And then obviously paired up with Giraffe, which again is at a pretty, you know, middle speed tier. I do believe he was actually running all these mons decently fast. Like, there were no zero IV, zero speeds. Giraffe, Blood Moon, and Hands all had a little bit of speed on them. And obviously, too, when you're going up against Balance, having, you know, obviously Tornadus there buffing it up, I do believe we actually saw the Blood Moon Ursaluna outspeed something in Tailwind that I was absolutely shocked at outsped. I wish I remembered what it was. But this mon just punts out damage. Honestly, you get into a position where it's next to the Giraffe. You know, maybe Giraffe gets Trick Room up for it. You know, or maybe it's just next to Tornadus, whatever, right? Blood Moon with Terra Normal Life Orb, stupidly strong. Hyper Voice can sweep through. And yeah, if you ever put it with, you know, Helping Hand, it's just really freaking good, man. It's a really good core. I think that's a really, really cool team by Niko here. You know, congrats to him. I know obviously he was building with Justin Tang. Or not, I don't know if he was building with Tang. Sorry, I know he was like obviously talking with Tang. I think they roomed together at the event, so that's like really, really cool. But then we have Luke's team here. Now, Luke's team, relatively standard. This team looks like, you know, a team we saw at Portland, except instead of having Entei, this one has Gouging Fire. I do like Gouging Fire on this team. It's Speed Booster plus Howl, basically buffing up all these physical attackers. Not really too much to say. The team was cool. We did get to see it on stream. You know, the Terra Dark, you know, King Gambit's obviously, you know, it's a beast. If this thing gets SDs up, it's crazy. Fluttermane with Specs is always good. You know, we all know what GM Power does at this point. You know, with Focus Sash, it's strong. Same with Ruler Boom, right? This is the same set I've been running forever. You know, it's the Terrify AV. Again, very standard Ogerborn here. And then, of course, just Gouging Fire. Again, I feel like we saw a lot of this team here at the past regional. Still a really cool team. And it is nice to see Gouging Fire actually get a top 4, because I am a bit of a believer in this mon. Then we also here have another top 4 team. So very, very close to Nick's team here as well. I believe the main difference being Arcanine in the... was it just the Arcanine? Yeah, so he's got Arcanine instead of the Fire. Is it just Arcanine instead of Fire Pot? Is that the only difference here? I think so. Oh, wait, Brian. He doesn't have Brian Hands. What has he got in the hand slot? Oh, this guy, he did... Okay, Nick didn't have a Fluttermane. Okay. So yeah, he's got, instead of, you know, Hands and Fire Pond here, he has Fluttermane and Hisuian Arcanine. Both very, very good. Hisuian Arcanine getting another top 4 place is really, really cool. But again, this is one of those, you know, kind of standard teams we're seeing right now. It's like, you know, you got 4 really good Tailwind mons and then just a Trick Room mode just in case. And of course, when you're running things like Shifu and Hisuian Arcanine, like, yeah, they like both like being in Tailwind, right? But if you're going up against another fast hyper, you know, offensive team, these are 2 mons with, you know, less than base 100 speed. So they're kind of slow in, you know, the HO versus HO. Which means, yeah, get them next to a Giraffe, and all of a sudden they're just going to start pumping out damage. Not to mention, of course, you know, Giraffe next to Urshifu Dark is always good, because, you know, Terra Dark banded plus Helping Hand, it does a shit ton of damage, boys. It's kind of crazy. Now, Stefan's team here, this is a team, I'm actually so sad this team did good. If anyone saw my video the other day, you know, you would have seen I've been playing around with, obviously Flutterfish, you know, it's your boy's bread and butter. But this is the exact 6 I've actually kind of been rocking with. Slightly different sets, you know. I'm also a huge fan of the booster speed Fluttermane. I know there was a couple teams with this Sim 6 that were running, I believe, like I think they were running Specs on the Fluttermane, or they were running like booster special attack. So, you know, I'm a huge fan of the booster speed. I don't really want to say too much on this team. I do have a lot of insight on it, but I don't really want to leak my strats. But look, the team's cool. Really interesting to see Terra Fire though. I do run Terra Ghost. But outside of that, you know, this team's really, really good. I am glad, you know, I saw it do really well at this event. Simply because, again, as I said, I'm running this 6 myself, so it is, you know, cool to see it getting results, right? It makes me feel a little bit more confident in the team. But yeah, it's really cool. It's just hyper offense, right? You got Tailwind plus just 5 really good mons. And is of course seeing Glamore doing so well as well. You know, you got the Meteor being Power Herb. This one, it pumps damage, boys. It's really freaking good, yeah. And then this one here by Enzo. Smeagol getting its first results of Regulation F. Kind of crazy, right? Again, this is like, you kind of look at this team, this is what we're touching on, right? You've got this, you know, Tornadus. You got this Blood Moon Ursaluna. Main difference is, where the hell is this Blood Moon Ursaluna's Trick Room setup? This to me is wild. I'm really curious if this is just max speed. You know, this is a pretty standard Smeagol set as well. Obviously, Spore, Followed Me, Wide Guard, Fake Out. Just very, very good. Obviously, no offensive moves, but again, this one, it's pretty good. You just got it in, you know in open team sheet, hey, my opponent does or doesn't have Taunt. Keep that in mind, right? But then you got the Plot Gold, you got, you know, the AV, Entei, Terra Fairy. Terra Fairy actually was really interesting. I'd love to know what the idea behind that was, because Fire and Fairy don't have that much crossover, but obviously Grass, you know, while it's a good defensive typing in some situations, in the current metagame with like a lot of fires running around, it's not that great. And then just another Banded Shifu, you know? Pretty standard, but I don't want to say standard for the most part. Everything but the Smeagol is that kind of standard. And no Trick Room setup to me was the real, like, the thing that really caught my eye. But regardless, still a cool team. You know, we're seeing the Urshi Dark Supremacy, which, you know, I've been waiting for it for a hot minute, you know? Then we have TWeb's team here. Yeah, this team are good. If anyone saw my last video, I was essentially running this exact same team, but I had Chen Pao in the Ogerpawn slot. Again, very strong team. You know, I think Indeedee plus Fluttermane's really good into a lot of the priority stuff. Fun fact for anyone who doesn't know, I guess, also Specs Protect. Interesting. I didn't actually see that before. But yeah, if you outspeed the Chen Pao, knock it to its sash, and then it Ice Spin as your Indeedee, it will faint before actually removing the terrain. Because yeah, I guess it just works like that. Helmet just makes it faint. So that's kind of cool. Running double speed control here as well with the Icy Wind, I do think is very nice. Obviously Scarf Shifu paired up with Tornadus Rain is just, it's good. We all know what it does. And then of course Indeedee plus Iron Crown here. So really cool thing I like with this team personally is having Terra Water, Terra Blast obviously helps you out with a lot of those mons you couldn't hit. Things like, you know, fire types, for example, Chi-Yu and Incin. Even a lot of like the steel types, right? Water is just a good neutral offensive typing. But you also pair that up with Rain Dance, and all of a sudden, you know, you have a pretty powerful, you know, Terra Blast coming off this Iron Crown, which I do think is pretty nice. And then we have Neil. Neil, VGC, guys. Unfortunately, Neil was the Wolf Glick opponent in top 8. So, you know, he did obviously get, you know, the toughest matchup, arguably, in that top 8 slot. But a really cool team here. Seeing Neil pulling out Roaring Moon and Raging Bolt is actually so nice. Like, I love both of these mons. Like, I mean, anyone who's been around the channel, you know, for the last year knows Roaring Moon is... for the most part, it has been my favorite mon throughout, but Chi-Yu might have overtaken it simply because I just don't use Roaring Moon. It doesn't really fit my playstyle. But basically seeing, you know, DD setup paired up with like doubled redirection from Amoonguss and Oakenpawn Wellspring. You also pair that up with like Incin, obviously just fake out Intimidate support. And then of course you just say, hey, Fluttermane, you're just a really strong attacker. You know, you can kind of clean up games. And of course, Raging Bolt's another one where it's like, hey, you know, maybe my matchup into like, you know, Urshi Torn isn't great. I just have an AV, you know, Raging Bolt here who can kind of just clap it, right? So yeah, really cool team here by Neil. Awesome to see Roaring Moon do so well. You know, it's the same old set, DD, Acro, knockoff. It's good, but, you know, great to see it. I absolutely love it. And the other thing too, I kind of didn't mention at the start of this event, and I probably should have, and maybe, I don't know, I'm not going to put it in the intro now, I'm too far in. There were so many good freaking players at this event, right? If you have a look down here, right? So like well-known players, obviously Wolf Glick, former world champion, right? Obviously Toller's here, Neil's here, you know. Some of these players, you know, if you're a bit deeper into the scene, you know them. If you're more casual, you probably don't. But then you start looking down, you got guys like Jody Azarelli, you know, my personal favorite, you know, player within the scene. Absolutely love this guy. You got Regard there as well, you know, another fantastic player, one of the best we have. Paul Chu is here, man. Like Ashton Cox, like, dude, Ashton Cox didn't even get top 16. Like, that's so sad for Ashton Cox. He bubbles out of top 16. I believe Will as well. Where's Will? Will. I'm sure, didn't Will just bubble out of top 8? Oh, wait. Yeah, here it is, Will. Will the homie, Will Tank. Yeah, just did another great performance. Like, seeing Gouging Fire here do so well was, like, really cool. But again, sorry, he bubbled out of top 8. I lied. Ashton Cox didn't. It was Will did. Will, you know, here with his Gouging Fire, you know, he's been running it all, you know, basically Regulation F, getting great results on online tours. So really cool to see it. We also see Carl Livingston here running that same team I was talking about before. You know, this time he's also got the Terrafire. Interesting. Maybe I gotta try Terrafire, boys. I'm missing something there. But again, basically the same team that we saw, you know, obviously in the top 8 there. But yeah, you know, some really good players down here. Tang Shilang, I butchered that name. I'm sorry, Tang. You know, just fantastic. Riley Factory here, 26, dude. Brandon Zhang, baby Zhang. James Evans is here. Dude, Justin Burns. This event is stacked, man. Like, Zachary Thornberg's another guy who's been having great results. Really cool Trick Room team here as well with the Duck and, you know, the Ursaluna. But yeah, man, it goes on. My homie Jonzu, he's here as well somewhere. There he is, bang, 43rd Jonzu. Check him out, guys. Running that same team I was telling you about as well. So yeah, really, really cool, man. Are there any like specific teams I want to touch on here? We'll have a look at Jody. You know, Jody was also, by the way, I was in his stream the other day and he was telling me, Chiyu's not the call for this meta, he told me. Bang, Jody. Look at this. Look at this right here. Number 5, baby. Chiyu. He's still got a place. He's still got a place, boys. But yeah, look, Jody's team here, you know, another Sash see-through. Insyn with AV. I do really like AV Insyn right now. I think it's actually a really cool tech. More Blood Moon Ursaluna. Honestly, Blood Moon Ursaluna is just the one that's been on the rise. But yeah, look, just really, really cool teams here. I guess before I wrap it up, because like there's so many like cool teams we could look at here. Obviously, we got this here as well. This rain team. I'm pretty sure Brady Smith. I don't know actually where Brady plays, but he's also running like the same rain team. Dude, Hale. Articuno Hale getting top 32. That's kind of wild. Give me like 2 seconds there, boys. I'm going to quickly go. Actually, I played this team on ladder today as well. This team here kind of pog. I'm going to go pull up the stats and we'll talk about those before I dip for the day. All right, so you guys can see that here. So here's your day 1 stats, obviously, for, you know, for Charlotte here. So as I said, Flutter main number 1, seeing, you know, Ogerporn here at number 2. These two mods absolutely dominating the format in terms of usage, which was kind of wild. Flutter main at 62%, you know, Ogerporn at 47, very, very high. And then seeing Chen Pao not even hit 30% to me was wild. But the biggest takeaway from this, right? Like, I want to say the biggest. I'll quickly touch on this. Reggie Bolt, 22%, you know, being, you know, a top 6 mon. No D-Knight here as well, which is kind of crazy. But Rapid and Single Strike are finally neck and neck for like the first time in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which is kind of nuts if you ask me. Amoonguss also sliding into the top 10. I was kind of surprised to see it do so well for day 1. I definitely expected it day 2 to do a lot better. But day 1 was kind of nutty. And then seeing Landorus Incarnate here as well, also getting top 12. I was kind of shocked by this, but also seeing it at 17% is very, very low. Which is one thing I really enjoy about this, right? Seeing only 2 mons cracking 30% does show that there's a bit of diversity in this format, which I do think we've been lacking in, you know, some of the more recent ones, you know, particularly D and E. And then, of course, Giraffe once again slipping into, you know, top 12 for day 1, which was kind of crazy. Again, I thought this one was going to kind of fall off after, you know, not getting really great results at Portland, but obviously, you know, people believed in it and they kept bringing it. But then we look at day 2 here, boys. We see Fluttermane jump up all the way to 70%. You know, Ogerporn here almost at 50%. Torn jumps all the way up to 36%. The Shroom, as I said, I expected this one to rise. We see it at 35%. You know, not surprised here. But Urshi Single Strike overtakes Urshi Rapid at 35%. My goodness, boys, I cannot believe it. I am shocked. So I've been on this train of Urshi Single, you know, for the last, you know, what, month or so now, and to finally see it top 5 day 2 at a regional, kind of nutty. Insyn though, not even being a top 5 mon, boys, that one pains me because you know, while I wasn't the biggest believer of Insyn coming into the format, I still said it was top 5. I'm like, nah, guys, it's still gonna be a top 5 mon. It's gonna be a top 5 mon, and it's number 6. It's number 6 for day 2 at Charlotte, which is, yeah, definitely nutty here. Urshi, you know, Rapid still 30% or 29 here, very, very solid. Giraffe, though, sliding all the way up into 8th is kind of crazy. We see Gambit and Didi both making appearances in the top 12 as well. In Didi, I'm not surprised by. 1, I think, you know, Helmet and Didi, even without Iron Crown / Side Spam, is still really, really good. But 2, I do think Iron Crown Side Spam is just fantastic. If you have a look at a lot of these top mons here, really outside of, you know, obviously the 2 Dark types here, and of course, you know, obviously, you know, down here with King Gambit, they don't have the best matchups into the Iron Crown, because, like, it's either, you know, you're just expanding force, or you just go for, like, Tachyon Cutter, and in, you know, the case here of obviously a good friend, Ogerporn Wellspring, you just got to pray they don't Terror and just, you know, hit him with the E-Force. But yeah, some like really, really cool stats there. You know, Raging Bolt still being top 12 is interesting to me. Like, I do love Raging Bolt. Personally, it just doesn't fit the teams I'm trying to play. But obviously more, you know, these more balanced setup teams, I'm sure would, you know, get a lot of usage out of it. But then we have Labb Mouse here. Again, this is just a bit more of a, you know, an in-depth look here. You can kind of see what items were, you know, the most used. Assault Vest, I believe, at Portland was 80-something% usage. Now our Focus Sash, the most used item here. And that's crazy as well to see Ogerporn Wellspring have the 4th most used item at the event. Considering only one Pokemon can actually hold it. Dude, Wolfy Glick goes 17-1 on Wolf. But yeah, guys, if you haven't checked out this website, by the way, go check it out. It's fantastic. You get so many stats here. And you can just, like, see the common stuff as well. See my guy Whimsicott here. Actually, win percent. Let's have a look at win rates. What mon had the best win rate, boys? I actually did not even touch on that team. This was Brandon Zhang's team. That was a really cool team. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a big believer in Iron Jugulus. I refuse to play it in this format because I don't think it's good in this format. But Brandon Zhang said, "Hey, top 32 with Iron Jugulus, baby. Let's freaking go, yeah." But yeah, so really cool Iron Jugulus, the best one at the event. Articuno number 2. We see some Mercury's here, but look at this. This is the big one, boys. Glamora, the 21st most used mon, had a 57.8% win rate. Look at this. Dude, look at this. Like, Hisuian Arcanine, yeah, had a really good event. You know, Gagic Fire, Blood Moon Osuna, yeah, really good. But dude, look at this, man. To go like plus 100 wins on like what? How many games is that? Like 630-ish, I think it is. That's absolutely insane. You know, Glamora, this one it's good, boys. It's really good. If you weren't sure what to do, Power Herb, Meteor Beam, boys. Look at this move here. It's a nuke. I would recommend always going these 4 moves here unless you're playing with Dondozo, in which case go Mortal Spin. But yeah, you can also see what it's paired with too, dude. Glamora, absolute winner of this event. This mon's really freaking good. I'm not gonna lie. Even seeing Sableye, I thought that was 102 appearances by Sableye. I'm like, holy shit. No, it's 2 appearances at 104, sorry, 104, not 102. Most used. But yeah, look, you get to see some really cool stats here. Blaziken going 5 and 6, kind of PogChamp. But yeah, you get some great results here, boys. And yeah, check it out if you haven't already. I feel like I don't really have much else to say, at least right now. Obviously, I'll have to do a bit more in-depth studying, you know, in my own time. I might even too. I'm thinking about doing a recap of, an analysis of Wolf's game. Let me know if you guys think that'd be a good idea or not. Personally, I like analyzing games. I just don't know if it's good viewing content. So yeah, if you could let me know down below, that'd be fantastic. But yeah, anyway, guys, I think I'm gonna get out of here. Obviously, yeah, that was a cool event. And yeah, I look forward to covering more in the future. And yeah, obviously, you know, preparation for Melbourne's coming up too. I've got an event in 2 weeks, so I do apologize if uploads are a little less frequent. But anyway, guys, I gotta go. I'll catch you later. Bye.